שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני
Shabbat Shalom. On this Shabbat, Vayihi, we are in the last section of the book of Genesis, and we read of Jacob's death and of Joseph's continued graciousness to his brothers, promising to take care of them and their families, rather than take revenge on them for their past wrongdoings. His forgiveness and their reconciliation is complete. It is sometimes easier to pick a quarrel rather than to strive to create peace. And yet, as we learn in the Talmud, humility is what God requires of us. As Abba said in the name of Rabbi Samuel, one year the school of Shammai and the school of Hillel were at odds. Another year, a third, each held to its own way. A voice from beyond then proclaimed, "The word of both are the words of the living God, but the school of Hillel's way is the one to follow." Why? Though both follow the living God, the school of Hillel's way was gentle and conciliatory. They would teach their own view and that of their opponents, and give priority to the school of Shammai. Thus, we learn that the Holy One exalts those who humble themselves and humbles those who exalt themselves. And so, as we welcome Shabbat, let us seek in our own lives ways to more often choose the gentle and conciliatory way. Let us lift others up, seeking common ground and common purpose, creating a sense of peace and comfort, building community that fulfills the teachings of the living God. We turn to page 3 as we begin our service, welcoming Shabbat with light. It's my pleasure to welcome up Sharon Teish to lead us in the blessings.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu לשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחיל לנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר לציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
L'chaim. We turn to page 13 in our prayer books, our Sidurim, as we welcome Shabbat with song from Psalm 96, Shir Chadash.
God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai, I will sing unto God a new song.
Page 22 from Psalm 92, Tov Lehodot.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון.
We turn back to page 20 as we make ready to welcome the Sabbath bride, singing Lecha Dodi. Tonight, is it new for us? A new melody composed by Michael himself. I've been told it is both upbeat and easy to pick up, and so we are all going to learn it together. And you'll know if I probably won't turn my microphone on, but if I do, then you'll know I do think that it is easy and to pick up. But we'll sing verses 1 and 2, 5 and 9, and when we reach verse 9, our Boi v'Shalom, we rise as a congregation, we face the entrance of our sanctuary, which is over there, and we beckon that Sabbath bride, that Shabbos spirit that we make real when we sing together as one.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zacho b'dibur echad, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, השם הוא תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Shabbat nekabela lechadoti likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri kiva oref kumiori ori shir daveri kevod Adonai alaich nigla lechadoti likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela lechadoti likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom aterepala gam v'simcha u'tzola תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי הלאה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה
Turn to those around you. I know, it's good. I thought you were going to do it one more time. Actually, I was like, turn to those around you, wish them a Shabbat Shalom, and let them know how glad you are they're here.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
We continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 26 as we remain standing through Shema.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחייתך בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעלמי המיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן
We continue on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma potech sha'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakira kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, b'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid imloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. On page 32, we read together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevon Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וטפתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
Amen. On page 39, we read responsively on the bottom. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for a day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norah Adonai Eloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora Hosei, Nora Hosei, Adonai Eloch le'olam va'ed.
On the bottom of page 43, we read together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch ata Adonai, hapureis sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. On page 44, we sing V'shamru, giving thanks to God for the gift of rejuvenation and rest that Shabbat brings.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני, את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Thank you. So once a month, rather than a traditional Devar Torah where we focus on the Torah portion of the week, we dedicate our teaching or preaching section to what we call worship works, an opportunity to look at some aspect of Jewish worship, whether it is the specific meaning of a prayer or the time of year or a bigger prayer concept. Tonight, we kind of do a combination of all three, and we're going to focus on the Amidah, and then after we learn about the Amidah, we're going to pray the Amidah, and then move forward through the rest of the service. So when we talk about Jewish prayer, we often talk about the tension between keva and kavanah. Keva means fixed prayer. Those are the words that are in our prayer book, the things we say every single time we come to services. And then the kavanah is the intention or the spirit that we personally bring to those prayers. And so all of Jewish prayer, for the most part, is this tension between needing to say the right words at the right time and the right way, and trying to infuse them with a sense of awareness and purpose, spirituality, perhaps, and ideally a connection to God. Oh yeah, we're also handing out a baby naming ceremony in just a little while. So I'm just going to keep talking while the sheets are being handed out, and then we'll be ready to go. So tonight, as I said, we're going to focus on the Amidah because it's a great example of that tension between the Keva and the Kavanah. We have many prayers that we're supposed to say in a certain order, and yet there's also this idea that we are reaching out to God to ask God for certain things. We're going to petition God. So first, we're almost there. How are we doing? Everyone more or less have a page? Fantastic. First, we're going to start by reading this excerpt from a piece by Rabbi Daniel Landis about halakha and halachic prayer. For those of us who are not super familiar with halakha, that is the Jewish word for Jewish law, okay? Coming from the verb that means to go. So it is the path we are supposed to follow, or more colloquially, the rules we are supposed to be following as we live a Jewish life. And so our prayers are made up of some of that. So I see, Rabbi, you're going over to Beth Keogh. Beth Keogh, would you read the Rabbi Daniel Landis?
That was so sweet of you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Halak prayer affirms the truly dialectic quality of tefillah. It affirms human beings in all our neediness and the capacity of God to hear our petitions and to act upon them. The halach, thank you, sees prayer as communication between two, not necessarily equal partners. A finite human being whose finitude does not prevent him from beseeching God, and a God whose absoluteness is penetrable. These are tough words in this sentence. Sorry.
I did not
Sorry.
write this, by the way.
Okay. Halakhic prayer is an articulate conversation between the community of Israel and God. It is actually a dialogue that affirms the power and needs of both participants, their relationship to each other, and their ability to communicate and to act.
Beth, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. So a halachic understanding of prayer is not that we just go and pour out our hearts and say what we need to say, though there's time to do that as well, but that there's a script we're supposed to follow, and that script enables us to have a conversation with God. It's not a conversation between equals, right? God is, well, I'm not going to say God is up there per se, but the idea is, right, God is up there and we are down here. But also that this idea that God is not impenetrable, that we can actually communicate with God is there, and that God will hear us. It doesn't mean that God will do everything that we ask God to do, but God will hear what our prayers are. And also, I think there is both a communal aspect to these kinds of prayers as well as the personal aspect, right? So it's not only our own prayers that we might have. There are prayers we're supposed to say together, also on behalf of the community as a whole. And also there are many specific formulations as well as a lot of room for creativity. Okay, so going to do a little what is Jewish blessing 101 for all of us, and think about the different kinds of blessings or prayers we have in Judaism. Maimonides, medieval philosopher, doctor, appropriate for tonight, shares that there are three general usages that we have in Judaism for prayer. The first one is hana'ah, blessings recited upon enjoying a pleasure of this world. So when you eat a fruit for the first time in the season, or you're at an amazingly large or exciting gathering, a shehechianu, for instance, right? These are blessings we say upon a pleasurable experience in the world. Then we have mitzvah, blessings that are set alongside the performance of a commanded act. So lighting candles, kiddush, blessings over Torah. Those are blessings that we say because we are commanded to do those things. And then finally, we have tefillah, blessings that constitute a normal part of fixed prayer. That's all the prayers that are in our prayer book. And this last form, tefillah, of course, contains 3 subsets of prayer. Number 1, shevach, praise, bakasha, thanksgiving, and hoda'ah, petition. I'm not making anyone read these things, right? Rabbi Saul, of course, could read them. Rabbi Yergin could read them. I don't want to put pressure on anybody. Okay, so shevach, God, you are so great, right? Bakasha, thank you, God, for all the amazing things you do for us. Hoda'ah, now that I've told you how great you are and how appreciative I am of you, I'm going to ask you for some things. Okay? As I explained to 6th and 7th graders when I teach this to them, we're not saying, God, you're so great, I need a new Xbox, right? Or, God, you're so wonderful, could I please get an A on that test? That's not the kind of bakasha or hoda'ah that we're talking about. And as you'll see later on, prayers for justice, for peace, for healing, those are the kinds of petitions that we are asking for. Though when it comes to your silent prayer, you are entitled to ask for a new Xbox if that is what you really want. Okay. So the Amidah has 2 other names. It is also called the tefillah, the prayer, or Shmona Esrei, which is the Hebrew for 18, because there are 18 prayers in the Amidah. Just kidding, there are actually 19, but it's called the 18 prayers. A few things we want to know about the Amidah. First, it is the second of the 3 main sections of our service. Second, it is part of every single service. In Judaism, there's a morning service, an afternoon service, and an evening service. Often, afternoon and evening are combined together in a traditional context. But unlike other prayers in the service that only happen at certain times, we say the Amidah at all 3 services. Okay, and it contains all 3 subsets of tefillah. It's usually thought of as the petitionary part of Jewish worship. So the first 3 blessings are praise, the middle 13 blessings, more on that in a second, are the petition, and the last 3 blessings are hoda'ah, or thanksgiving. Okay, on Shabbat, that's now, and the holidays, those 13 middle blessings are pulled out, and instead there is 1 blessing that has to do specifically with the day, known as Kiddushat Hayom. So it sanctifies that special day. There's a blessing for Shabbat, and there are different blessings for the different holidays, okay? But within those, there are many of the themes of the 13 petitions that we pulled out because it was Shabbat. Okay, so if Shema, which we said before, the Shema and the V'ahavta, and its blessings is a Jewish conversation about God, when we talk about all the things that God can do, like God created the world, God gave us the gift of Torah, right? The Amidah is a conversation with God, as Rabbi Daniel Landis explained. Okay, turn to the other side. It's finals time in high school, and in college they just finished, so there may be a written exam later. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So first, we're going to read this item from the Talmud, from Barachot 26b. I'm just going to read it. There's a lot of names there. Rabbi Yosei ben Chanina says, the tefillot, meaning here the 3 daily Amidah services, were instituted by the patriarchs. That would be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Rabbi Joshua ben Levi says the tefillot were instituted to parallel the daily sacrifices. These are 2 separate ideas about when the Amidah was formulated. By saying that the patriarchs created it, it means it goes all the way back to Genesis, to ancient times. But to say that it takes the place of the sacrifices, it would mean that it was created after the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, when there was no longer the opportunity, the ability to make the sacrifices. So we see that there's a little bit of a tension in the rabbinic Jewish perspective as to when it would happen. But we have 3 different sites in addition to the Talmud that tell us when they think it happened. The 2nd century Midrash, the Sifra, says the early prophets instituted the practice of the daily recital. The Babylonian Talmud says 120 elders, including many prophets, instituted the 18 benedictions. And the Palestinian Talmud, similar but different, we don't have time to explain that all right now, I'll tell you after services if you want to know, concurs, agrees, and says 120 men, including about 80 elders and 30 prophets, instituted the daily Amidah. Okay, so we know it's old, we know it's important, and that whenever it came to be developed, it was something that all manner of Jewish people felt needed to be said in some way or another. But we don't really know. Okay, so what constitutes the Amidah? Rabban Gamliel said, everyone must say 18 blessings every day. Rabbi Yehoshua said, a synopsis suffices. I like Rabbi Yehoshua. Just sum it up, it's good. Rabbi Akiva said, 18 benedictions are desirable only if people know them fluently. If not, they should say a synopsis of 18 benedictions. Rabbi Eliezer said, if you make your prayers a fixed task, your prayers do not count as real supplication. So here we see this tension between keeping things the same for everybody and using the prayers that are in your heart. It used to be, before the printing press in the 1400s, that these prayers had more or less the same themes, but people said them their own way. After the printing press, they kind of get locked in. There's a few variations, but then they really are set. Okay, so some people prefer creativity. Some people prefer, remember here we got the keva and the kavanah. Some people prefer the fixed prayers, and they both exist in the Amidah. So, what role does the Amidah play in the service? It really enables us to look back at our history, think about where we are in the present, and also move towards the future. So we have this rather long reading by Elliot Dorff. We're going to read a paragraph. We're going to stop. We're going to read another paragraph. So Rabbi Aaron's going to find you.
Though the rabbis explain the logic behind the paragraphs of the Shema, they nowhere do so regarding the Amidah. It is a fact, however, that every Amidah begins and ends with the two same triads of blessings, while only the intermediary ones change. I suggest 3 interpretations of why the rabbis chose these particular prayers in this particular order to begin every Amidah.
Right, so every service begins with Avot, Gevurot, Kedusha, okay? Which we'll get to after we finish studying.
Temporal order. The first blessing speaks of our link to God in the past, the second of our hopes for salvation in the future, and the third of how we experience God as holy and awesome in the present.
Right, so these three blessings, past, present, future, all thinking about God's presence in our lives. Number 2, we have the order of our relationships to God.
Yeah, I got it. The order of our relationships to God. The first, Avot, ancestors, describes God as an old and familiar ancestral deity who shielded Abraham and who will remember his love for our ancestors. The second, Gevurot, power, describes a God who supports, sustains, and even revives us. The third, Kedusha, speaks of a God as separate and apart from us, as wholly other, and as therefore deserving of respect and awe. The Amidah begins then by recognizing God's manifestation to us in all 3 of these ways.
So we begin by reminding ourselves that God has always been with us, that God is here with us in good times and bad, and also the reason that is because God's power is beyond us, right? Beyond time, and in many ways beyond the temporal space that we have as part of our own reality. Okay, so final section, identifying the players and the prayer to follow.
The 3 blessings identify the parties involved in the prayer and the relationship among them. In the Avot, we are descendants of the patriarchs and matriarchs, not mere strangers who appear before God with nothing to speak for us except our own merits. The third blessing acknowledges God versus the mystery before whom even the angels quake in fear, and whose honor, kavod, literally heaviness, fills the earth. Our reaction to this God, though, is not just fear, but praise, as we praise that he reign in Zion forever. The first blessing identifies us, the third blessing acknowledges God, and the second blessing describes our primary relationship together. God can and does use his power to make it possible for us to live and thrive, perhaps even after death. Indeed, while only the second blessing speaks specifically of God's power, the other two refer to it obliquely, thus indicating that is the aspect of the relationship between God and us that will be most invoked in the prayers that follow.
Thank you. So, God's power is meant to sustain us and keep our connection to the past. When we talk about our ancestors, we're reminded that that relationship started with Abraham, and God promised Abraham that God would be with all the generations to follow. And so we want to remind ourselves and God of that as well. And then that third blessing reminds us not only of our connection to God, but of God's holiness and sanctity, and that it is the relationship and that power that enable his sanctity and also God's holiness and the ancestry, that enable God's power to be present in our lives. So when we say these three blessings, which we do every single time we come together for worship, Yom Kippur, I think we say it 800 times, it seems like, at the end of the 2 days. These three prayers are front and center. Even though the middle changes for the moment, we are reminded of our relationship to our ancestors and God's promise to be there. We're reminded of God's power to be there with us through the times that are challenging, as well as to be there with us when we rejoice. And we are reminded that there is a sanctity in the world that will hopefully uplift us and nourish us as we move forward. I hope now, as we rise for the Amidah and face the Ark, you're able to keep these themes in mind, not just tonight, but every time you are able to offer these prayers. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Ay, 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Koneh Hakol, ve'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula livnei bneihem leman shemo Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. We continue on page 55 at the top as we join together for Kiddushat Hayom. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat, page 58. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. On page 60, we join together in the words of our prayer for peace. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever, for you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment now to think of those who face the future not fully whole, those who are in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We think of those in our hearts and those of them on our Misha Berach list, which is on your screen if you are joining us on live stream, or can be found on our website with the QR code that you scanned. We think of all those people and whisper their names out loud now. We join together in the words of Misha Berach, page 253.
Misha Berach avoteinu mikol habracha leimoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Berach imoteinu mikol habracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit,
Amen. We take a moment now for our own silent prayers.
I would like to invite up the Harris and Rakazi family. Anyone who's here from those families is welcome to come up on the bima if you so desire. But certainly I need Cameron and Nicole, and I need Calvin, maybe Theo too if he wants to come up, and grandparents that are here, as well as those who are with us on live stream. We're sending out our hellos to you. And everyone should grab their naming sheets if they can see one, because everyone has a part. We're going to open the ark, so we can do this in front of the bima, but in front of the Torahs, but everyone can stay seated. You're going to help me? Can you hold this for your brother? You think so? You have one just like it. You do. Because a few years ago, we were here for your naming. That's right. And this is a very important place for your family, even though you don't live in San Antonio anymore, or ever, probably. But your dad grew up here, and it's important to him. You don't live inside there? No. Oh. Okay, that sounds good. So I'm not really sure, but I think it's going to be awesome. So we are going to give Calvin his name here in the presence of Torah and the congregation of Israel, but also the congregation of Temple Beth-El as witness. God and Creator, happy parents have come into your presence with grateful hearts. Give them the wisdom to teach their son to be faithful to his heritage and the household of Israel, that he may grow up with the knowledge that you are always near to him, guiding and sustaining him. May he come to see through the love of family that you, O God, are a spirit which unites us all. Holy One, a blessing, grant this little boy health of mind and strength of body, that he may enjoy fullness of years and may be blessed with the gift of godlike growth, the ability to discover the wonders of our world more and more each and every day.
O God, for the gift of this child, we give thanks, praying that we will
ever continue to be
worthy of the blessing and the sacred responsibility of parenthood. May we show our gratitude to you by leading our son in the way of righteousness. Teach us to guide him in goodness. May we instruct him with the compassion and wisdom, so that he may grow up loving humanity and bringing honor to the name of Israel. Help us to help Calvin grow into a humane, thoughtful, and holy human being, a child worthy of your blessing.
Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel hu yivarech et hayeled harach hazeh v'yizku aviv v'imo legadlo lechanucho lechochmo v'yihiyu yadav v'libo le'el emunah v'nomar amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, bless this child, Calvin Joseph, with life and health. May he be a joy to his parents, bringing honor to the people Israel, blessing to humanity, and glory to the name of God. And so now in the presence of loved ones, in the presence of the Holy One, we affirm Calvin's Hebrew name, Ze'ev ben Reuven. And now this is everyone's turn. We all read together. Let this become a name which is honored and respected for wisdom and good deeds, for compassion and courage, for his sense of humor and his sense of self. Let this be a name known for his dedication to the human spirit, to the betterment of all humankind. May God's blessing rest on Calvin now and always, as he has entered into the covenant of Israel before the generations of his family, and with this congregation as sacred witness. So may he grow into the study of Torah, the blessing of marriage, and the perpetual practice of good deeds. And let us all say, Amen.
We are so thankful for the many joys with which our lives have been blessed. Now another great goodness has come to us, the miracle of new life, the wonder of welcoming a new child into our family, a new life to hold, to behold, to love. Calvin Joseph Harris, may you grow up in health and happiness, to become a blessing to our family, our friends, and all who come to know you.
May your parents, Calvin, find much joy in the years that lie before them. May they rear you with wisdom and understanding, teaching you the ways of righteousness, leading you to the study of Torah and the practice of love and kindness. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. God deal kindly with you and be gracious unto you. Yisah Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom. May God's presence shine upon you, Calvin, and grant you life's choicest blessings of health, wholeness, happiness, lots of love, and peace. Amen. And Mazel Tov. You have that sheet for me, Theo? Got that thing for me? Perfect. thank you. I knew you had it safe for me all along. You know, that's where the cantor sits. Are you going to become a cantor? Maybe. That's awesome. Loves to sing. So here is a naming certificate that says that he was named here at Temple Beth-El here on the 17th of December, the 14th of Tevet in the year 5782. His Hebrew name, Ze'ev Reuven, also in Hebrew. A lovely keepsake. So when it's time for your bar mitzvah and they say, what's your Hebrew name, Calvin? You're going to pull out your Noah's Ark certificate and know just what you're supposed to do. Mazel tov. He was awake the whole time and perfectly calm and beautiful. Yes, well, that's the way it goes. All right, and we're going to invite all of you to go back to your spots, but we are going to rise for Alinu, the concluding portion of our service, on page 283.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. As we turn to page 289 for our memorial meditation, we note with sadness the following deaths. Randy Wisner, father of Miranda and Josh Sutton, grandfather of Ben, Noah, Ari, and Naomi. Maurice Maury Simon, husband of the late Elizabeth Simon and Emine Simon, father of Adrian Frank, Marlene and Hugh Davis, Stephen Simon, grandfather of Laura Frank and Dan Domkohler, Mamie Frank, Scott and Stephanie Saraboff, Allison and Rick Cares, Jenny and Jordan Slaughter, great-grandfather of Simone Slaughter, Jack Cares, Jaden Saraboff, and Ethan Saraboff. Mary Lou Kimmelblot, wife of Sherman Kimmelblot, mother of Sue and Dan Platt, Sharon, Sue Kimmelblot, and Tom Rosinski, Linda and Jim Cox, and Pam and Gary Brown, grandmother of 7 and great-grandmother of 2, almost 3. Barbara Wexner Levy, mother of Lauren Hughes and Don Meager. Page 289. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yard sites, we remember them. Jack Art, Norbert T. Auerbach, Blanche Barnett, Oscar Beck, Eleanor K. Benjamin, Ronald Burge, Joseph Berlowitz, Henrietta Blend, Dan C. Boone, Matthew Cervantes, Marilyn Charles, Judah Cohen, Jerry Cutler, Natalie Dalkowitz, Jean Dougherty, Leonard Dietz, Sylvia Demetman, Jacobo Dresser, Bela Eidelberg, Miriam Eisner, Joseph Fink, Milton Fink, Carlton Foote, Raphael Gabay, Audrey Given, Sadie Glickenhaus, Etta Goldstein, Joseph Gullion, Hilmer H. Hubaum, Edna S. Hollander, Mike Holliday, Ruth Friedman Callison, Jonathan Lee Kaplan, Isaac Kirschberg, Lena Kolodny, Elizabeth Korzniowski, Dorothy Kressbach, Elaine Wolf-Kustoff, Sylvan Lang, Alex Levinson, Joseph Levy, Sidney Maurice Levison, William Frank Lowe, Juliet Madden, Rebecca Miller, Ben Mitchell, Julius Palins, Sanford Panitz, Pearl Rubeck, Bernard Rubin, Shepard Charlack, Sylvia Charlack, Tilly Setlow, Leatrice Letty Simon, Leonard Sterling, June Volz, Haruzi Wainshaw, Mina Waxberg, Saul Wolfson, and Joseph Ziskin. To these names, we add those who have been buried in the past 30 days. We remember Kenneth Kenny Barry Rose, Dr. Martin Gerald Marty Rosenthal, Joan Fries, and Jean H. Lipset. We also think of one who was buried this week, whose family is in a mourning period of Shiva. Remember Natalie Levin, wife of the late Saul G. Levin, mother of Reggie and Ira Moskowitz, Ron and Rosie Levin, and Rick and Julie Levin, grandmother of Lori and Art Jacobson and many, and great-grandmother of 14. Private services were held in Ohio. We turn now to page 294 as we rise together in one community, as we join together in Kaddish Yatom. Yitz Gadal v'yitz Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, B'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'v'yizman kariv, Imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mavarach Le'olam Ulmei Almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal Shemei d'Kudashah B'richu, La'ela mikol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. It is my honor to call forward Dr. Amy Benedict to deliver tonight's announcements on behalf of the Board of Trustees.
Now can you hear me? Can't miss me. Okay, excellent. Welcome everyone, those of you here in the sanctuary this evening and those of you joining us virtually. I want to thank Sharon Teich for lighting the Shabbat candles this evening. And I want to thank Michael Seidel, Michael Hardy, Randy Deutsch, and Rabbi Berlin for enriching our services with music. Congratulations to Cameron Harris and Nicole Rakasi on the naming of their son, Calvin Joseph, and to his grandparents, Julie and Bill Harris, and Amma and Joe Rakasi. Mazel tov. What a wonderful occasion. Okay, we have many things happening at Temple this week. We have Shabbat services next week on Friday the 24th at 6:30, and Dr. Michael Ozer will offer the Devorah Torah, and he's done that before for us and really done a wonderful job. On Saturday the 25th, on Zoom only, we have Torah study at 9 a.m. And then at 10:30, also on Zoom only, Corey Palmer will be reading Torah, and we will have the morning services at 10:30. On Sunday at 9 a.m., join me and others who are volunteering to go work at the food bank in their garden. You can wear all those warm clothes that sit in your closet that you never get to wear, and you can be outside and you can get some exercise and do a good deed. So there's so much to be gained on Sunday. That's at 9 o'clock, and you can sign up online for that. Then there's a book club. I started reading The Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean, who knew? And it's really actually very interesting if you like historical fiction. And I find myself going back constantly to Google saying, is that true? Were there really Jewish pirates? Is that true? Did we really, a lot of us live in Jamaica? Who knew? Anyway, so it's very interesting. Even if you get through just part of it, that's Tuesday night. And then on December 25th at 9 o'clock, you can do another mitzvah and join Temple Beth-El and Corazon Ministries and prepare a Christmas Day meal, hand out hygiene kits, and deliver holiday cheer to the homeless. So lots of great opportunities, and all of these can be signed up for online. You can look at the weekly email or go to the Temple website. We are going to have a lot of challenges ahead of us in the next few months with COVID. So I'd like to just say that we should love thy neighbor as thyself, wear a mask, get vaccinated, and especially get a booster if you haven't gotten one, so you can protect not just really yourself, but others who are vulnerable and could get very sick in the upcoming months. Okay, have a wonderful week. Be kind to yourself and others. Shabbat Shalom.
Our closing song is Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Yes, is it still? Okay, on page 353, please rise.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam.
Just wanted to add a thank you to Aaron McAdams, our accompanist, who brings all the music together. And to all of you, a Shabbat Shalom. So wonderful to be with you here tonight. Shabbat Shalom.